Hello, class. Welcome to the last unit of lectures for communication programs and campaigns. This is Unit 6, RMNE, or Research Monitoring and Evaluation Concepts, one of the most important units in this entire course, in my opinion. Instead of giving you a PowerPoint presentation lecture, in I decided instead to create a guided reading and case study lecture like this because research, monitoring, and evaluations is an extremely complex and an extremely technical aspect in the C4D intervention. And instead of talking about it, I wanted instead to show you guys and girls and gays how it's done, how I did it and how I have been doing it as a C4D practitioner in terms of the projects that I have been involved in before. So to your left, you will see our guided reading of the course guide. And then to your right, we will see here some examples of the actual work that we do in terms of research, monitoring, and evaluation in C4D in the projects that I've been involved in. So this is a case study as well. Para makita talaga ninyo kung where these concepts fit into the actual implementation of the project. So I will discuss the concepts and then we see how it's done. All right. So let's begin. No, research, monitoring, and evaluation concepts. It asks us, how do we know the impact of a C4D campaign or program? Again, we cannot afford to create a C4D intervention that does not have any impact. Kasi yun naman talaga yung punto ng C4D intervention, right? Is to create impact. But the question is, how do you measure impact? How do you know that there is behavioral change? How do you know that you have taken your participants from point A to point B? So that's where research, monitoring, and evaluation comes in. Uh, you want to see if you have added to their knowledge. You want to see if they have improved their attitudes or developed positive behaviors and perceptions. And then you want to take a look at if they are now practicing new skills or have had developed new practices. So you want to monitor that, and then you want to evaluate the effectiveness of your C4D intervention. And that's where research, monitoring, and evaluation concepts comes in. I will be dividing this unit into two lessons. The first lesson will just focus on research, and the second unit will focus on monitoring and evaluation concepts. So let's start with research, of course. Kasi, di ba, if you go back to our C4D formula, part of the C4D formula is really research. Diba? Research plus communications plus ano yun, community involvement or community engagement equals your C4D campaign. So this is actually an entire 6 months, a new course, a new training offered to actual MNE practitioners. In fact, MNE specialists sometimes make more than C4D specialists. So it's actually an entire subject matter. So I will do my very best to kind of summarize, kind of encapsulate the big concepts of research and the big concepts of MNE into two lessons. So bear with me. All right. So utility of research and C4D strategies. Before we proceed, I would just like to remind you what is being constantly reminded in our C4D principles, that in all phases of the research and the planning cycle, you need to involve your participants. That is why it's called participatory process, because a C4D cannot be C4D without the engagement of the community. And that's why here you see a participatory workshop, and I'll talk more about that later. So very important na yung participants have an active involvement in all phases of research in your C4D. So what are the phases of research? 4 phases of research. This is the table. The first is formative research. The second is assessing immediate reactions, or pre-testing. The third is monitoring processes and early changes. That's the monitoring part. And the fourth one is evaluating outcomes and impacts. That's the evaluation part. For this lesson, I will just discuss these first two steps of the research in the program cycle, which is formative research and pre-testing. Now, what is formative research? Formative research is like your situational analysis or baseline measurement. You will need to be able to do these kinds of research before you create your intervention, and actually so that you have data and input for your monitoring and evaluation plan, your MNE plan. And I will show you an example of an MNE plan in lesson 2. But going back, you need to have an analysis of the situation, okay? What is currently happening in the community that you are wanting to do an intervention in? What is the current situation? So a situational analysis examines current situations, and based on these current situations, here you develop objectives and then you retrieve baselines for subsequent measurement and determines key factors and concepts. So you will see that because of the situation, because of the objectives, and because of the baselines you create, you will see if there is really change, in your participants in terms of knowledge, attitudes, practices, and then behavior. So the main questions answered is, where are we now? What is currently happening? Is C4D even needed? Baka naman talaga walang problema. Diba? Who needs it? Why? How? When? And where? Okay? These are the main questions that need to be answered by formative research. So, a case study is when I was working with UNICEF, we wanted to change the behavior of the out-of-school youth in terms of what we will know in the presentation. But that was our that was our main premise. We wanted to change the behavior of the out-of-school youth, but we wanted first to assess how are the out-of-school youth in Zamboanga. How many are they? Why are they out-of-school youth? What is the reason that they are there? No, we need to assess. We need to do a situational analysis. We need to analyze the current situation of our adolescents and young people and out-of-school youth in Zamboanga City. So we held this participatory workshop or situational analysis workshop. Okay. Now, introductions there. There are 3 things that we did during the event as situational analysis. Okay, first is we workshop the stakeholders or the beneficiaries or the participants through a causality analysis and theory of change. No, we wanted to analyze the situation by knowing the causes of the issues of the out-of-school youth and knowing the interventions that might help give solutions to these causes. Okay. Second, we looked at the different data sets on status of adolescents. So again, formative research includes your baseline measurement, includes a lot of data. How many boys are there? How many girls are there? How many? What is the baseline data? How many OSYs are there? What are the reasons? Basig na existing data nga, di na din ka kailangan mag-workshop, no? And then finally, because we did our causality analysis and theory of change and we have our data, we then create the desired behaviors that we wanted for our out-of-school youth and the challenges that they face. Why? These desired behaviors and challenges will be used to create the communications plan in the C4D, which I will show to you later. So ito, I mentioned causality analysis and theory of change. I think this is very helpful and this is very practical in creating your campaigns, no? In developing your campaigns. So causality analysis is basically showing us why because, right? So kung may problem, here, I'll show it to you. Why because? Here, there's an issue. Why are there out-of-school youth? Because of the lack of interest. Why are there out-of-school youth? Because of teenage pregnancy, because of pressure to help, because of armed conflict. But in causality analysis class, you then ask again, why? Why is there lack of interest? Because of poor leadership. Why is there teenage pregnancy? Because of early marriage. Why is there pressure to augment household income? Because there is a lack of financial support. Why is there armed conflict? Because families have been displaced. Okay? So you always ask. So the causality analysis that we did, that is part of a situational analysis. Here, okay, class, your formative research, we analyzed 3 issues. We analyzed, why are there out-of-school youth? Ang dami naman, 113,000. Okay? Oops, naglag. Okay. So that's our causality analysis, looking at the causes. Now, if you look at the bigger map, class, here is the bigger map. Oh, here is the causality map. Okay? So, yun yung summary sa taas. Pero ito talaga yung main issue. Okay, why is there a cause? Why is there an issue? Because of this, because of this, because of this. And why is there this? Because of blue. See, have blue. Why is there blue? Because of yellow. Why is there yellow? Because of aqua blue. Why is there aqua blue? And then because, so it's really a constant search of the causes of our issues. So from the very top here to there are out of school youth. Why are there out of school youth? If you look at the very bottom, you will see there's a lack of retreats and recollections for teachers, or lack of sexual education in school, or lack of programs to engage parents in school activities. So when you create your C4D intervention class, this causality map will help you because if you want to solve this problem, that's a big problem. So you want to go down to the real causes. And you don't need to create an intervention that will fix everything, but you can simply choose which of the deepest causes you want to work on. For example, lack of programs to engage parents in school activities. So since that's the bottom line problem here, we actually created a program for parents that will help them engage their students. Okay? So that's a causality analysis. The second workshop tool that we use in situational analysis is theory of change. Now, I will give you a supplement video to watch on the theory of change because that is extremely important, class. I think theory of change is one of the most practical tools. It shows us the change processes and possible interventions to a desired goal or outcome. So if the causality analysis is why, because, theory of change is if then, and it involves an intervention. If we create a parents program, then parents will be supportive. If we encourage the LGU to create programs for out of school youth, then the BLG will be supportive. So if then, okay, prioritizes an end goal in mind. So we decide on the different desired outcomes. For example, the issue is children and youth are unable to meaningfully participate in decision-making processes. Sorry, let's start with this one. There are OSYs. Okay, that's our issue. So our end goal in mind is the number of OSYs in Zamboanga City are reduced. Okay, again, class, this is not the behavior that we want to change. Okay, we are just analyzing the situation. What of this OSY situation can we do to help in reducing the number of OSYs in Zamboanga? So, if then, if then, if then. Okay? If the Department of Education budget allocation is increased, then the learning environment becomes more conducive. If the learning environment becomes more conducive, then students will stay in school. Because one of the problems reveal that students don't stay in school because the learning environment is not conducive. Okay? So if the students will stay in school, then the number of OSY in Zamboanga is reduced. If parents' incomes are increased, then parents become equipped with knowledge, skills, and attitudes in guiding their adolescents. If they are equipped, then there will be a better relationship between parents and adolescents. If there is a better relationship between parents and adolescents, because we found out in our research that parents aren't supportive, then number of OSYs in Zamboanga City is reduced. So after we looked at the different issues. We workshop that. And after we looked at the data presented for Region 9, see, data. Top 3 issues facing youth Filipinos today. Region 9 has the 4th highest proportion of idle youth or those not studying or working. So, nakita nyo guys, data talaga. Data. What are the current data? Almost 4 million Filipinos were out of school youth. 42% reasons for being out of school youth is marriage and family matters, blah, blah, blah. So once we had the causality analysis, once we had the theory of change, and once we had our data, we then proceeded to create this one. Our identified challenges of key stakeholders. So again, class, go back here. We're still informative research. We're still doing an analysis of the situation. Now, from stakeholders, so stakeholders are our participants or beneficiaries, okay? And if you remember the socio-ecological model, while we want to change the behavior of the out-of-school youth, we believe that we can help expedite that change in behavior if we affect the parents, which is interpersonal, and we affect the local government, which is policy or community. Excuse me, policy or community, right? So again, the SEM model the SEM still helps out here. So we have the intrapersonal or the individual, we have the interpersonal, and then we have the community. So what are our desired behaviors? So we wanted OSYs to be proactively and constantly engaged in the development of Zamboanga City Society. We want the parents to encourage their children to participate in activities. We want the BLGU to advocate for participation of OSYs. These were our desired behaviors. Because of our causality analysis class and because of our theory of change, we were able to compile these challenges. Okay, we were able to see to reach this desired behavior, what are the challenges? What are the barriers that will prevent our stakeholders from getting to the desired behavior? So these are the different challenges. So low self-esteem, lack of information on issues, don't know how to communicate, blah, blah, blah. Now, we're done with our workshop, basically. So are we good? Are we done with research? Are we done? Should we just proceed? Well, we then created, based on the stakeholders' desired behaviors and challenges, naglag ulit. Okay, sorry, naglag. We think we're done. So we created an internal strategic communication plan that will help aid in our C4D interventions. Okay? We think we're done, but class, who made this? Challenges, desired behavior stakeholders. These people, right? These professionals. Some of them are young. But look at the population. Majority are adults, right? Why? So these are all actually assumed. Wait lang class ha, medyo naglalag yung wonder why it's lagging. Okay. These are all actually assumed challenges and desired behavior changes based on, well, a very technical and a very helpful and very scientific and objective process of theory of change and causality analysis. But we want more. We want the outputs. We want these to be really grounded on what's happening on the ground. Grounded with what's happening on the ground. That's right. So, from our internal strategic communication plan, that we wanted to support that with actual data happening on the ground. So that's why we have our qualitative research and we talked to our main stakeholders, which are parents, BLGU, and the out-of-school youth themselves. We went to the communities and did a focus group discussion on the out-of-school youth, parents, and the BLGU to do what? To verify. Okay, class? To verify if these challenges are real. to verify if these challenges are supported with whatever they are experiencing on the ground. We wanted to talk to the parents to see if there is really a lack of quality time with their adolescents. We wanted to talk to the BLGU officers to see if there is really a lack of understanding on issues beyond drugs and HIV. So we wanted to ground that by creating a focus group discussion. So we wanted to verify that. So see, from situational analysis, we even delved deeper into the situation by actually going to the community and talking to the out-of-school youth and talking to the parents and talking to the barangay officials. So this is an example of a facilitator's guide to a focus group discussion. Okay, so basically, this is how we talked to our kids, to the out-of-school youth. Diba? May programa talaga. Introduction, icebreaker, ground rules. And of course, we had to translate it to Tagalog because that's the best way we can talk to our participants. And then we proceeded to our focus group discussions. Now, these questions are based on the results of our challenges. So, see class, everything is step by step. Everything that you do in your formative research really helps out with your end goal. So there, focus group discussion. And then after the focus group discussion, after the situational analysis workshop, we then had a focus group report. Okay, our communications consultant was able to compile it and analyze the data sets and understand everything. And here are the results of the research. Okay, wait, discussion of results here. So if you can see, there are 4 types of discussion for the results. Perceptions on the out-of-school youth. Diba? Remember in one of our health belief models, in one of our theories of interpersonal, we looked at how we need to change people's perception, right? For them, no perceived behaviors, perceived susceptibility. So we needed to take a look at our target participants' perceptions so that our interventions will be grounded on changing their current perceptions or have these perceptions get support for our programs. So we also look at how they feel as an out-of-school youth in their barangays. And then we looked at their challenges as well. So ito po yung mga naging result. Wait, okay. So just a quick run through perception of the ALS program, fulfilling ambition dream. See, we thought tambay lang ang OSY. We thought wala na po silang dreams. Excuse me. But according to our focus group discussion, marami po silang dreams. Okay? They have big dreams. And they want to fulfill their dreams and ambitions. Okay? They want to rise from poverty. They want to help family. There is a desire to change. Okay? For these out-of-school youth. They want to build relationships. They want to value each other. These are coming from the OSY. So this focus group discussion is telling us at UNICEF that there is that interest, there is that motivation by the OSY, but there are things that are preventing them. How they feel as an out-of-school youth in their barangay. They feel sad and discouraged about being an OSY in their barangay. They feel ashamed, no? They feel jealous of schools, of peers who are at school. So see, in the community, the social norm is that if you're an OSY, you are tambay and you're not doing anything. So because there is that social norm in your community, there's that normative belief, the OSY will have low self-esteem. You will feel sad and discouraged. See, again, all that we discussed in class, from the research, from the theories, from the interventions, really go down back to research as well. Okay? So yeah, those are just some of them. And of course, challenges of the OSY. The main challenge and obstacle to being an OSY is financial, due to overall poverty. Intertwined with financial problems is the need to help the family or deal with family norms and pressures. You know, parents would rather have their kid work so that they can earn money rather than go to school because parents don't see the importance of education yet. No? So muna ang mga challenges ginigawas. Na isang ganahan na kay siya mo change mo achieve siyang dreams, but their parents are stopping them. Okay. So, because we were able to have this initially first draft, and then because of our research that we did and the results, so from the situational analysis here to the focus group discussion here, we then created our communication plan that is grounded on the actual results of our formative research. So now we know that these challenges here in the challenges column are real and are verified because of the research that we did in the community. Okay? And then based on the challenges, we then create our communication objectives. We then talk about what are the objectives that we need to achieve to hit these different challenges. Okay? And I'm sure you know about SMART objectives, right? Measurable, attainable. So you still do that for communication objectives. And then based on these objectives and challenges by the stakeholder, we then create our communication messages or key messages that will be used in our strategies. Okay? So in any communication strategy or C4D intervention, ito na po yung C4D intervention part. For anything that we do here, we need to base it on key messages. Okay? Because key messages come from your objectives, which come from the challenges. And the challenges come from your focus group discussion and come from your situational analysis. So see, class, how important research is to be able to create a solid communication strategy that will really hit your communication objectives. All right? So, very extensive yun na conversation on formative research. And very briefly, no, assessing immediate reactions and pre-testing. Now, we need to do pre-testing. Why? Pre-test will tell us if our intervention, if they learned from our intervention or not at all. Diba? So, from pre-test to post-test, right? If our intervention helped or not. Okay? So, we created a pre-test for BLGUs. Okay, so remember our challenge with the BLGU? We want them to advocate for participation in OSY. So to make sure that there is a change, to evaluate that there is really a change in their perception on the OSY, because the key message is it takes a community to raise a child. Okay, we wanted to do a pre-test if really they believed that it takes a community to raise a child. Okay, so we created this pre-test. So true or false, for each statement, give a comment. So there are different statements here, like OSYs are provided spaces to participate, to develop their skills. Remember that according to the youth, wala masyadong support ni barangay. Okay, and then there's section B as well, if they agree or disagree. Do they agree or disagree that the out-of-school youth are just tambays or standbys and addicts in our barangay? No, that's part 2. And I'll show you lang the results just so you know how it all really fits in. No? So we did a pre-test of our barangay officials, 40 of them, and they said that yes, the out-of-school youth are provided facilities and spaces to participate, to develop their skills, okay? While only 5 said no, neutral said 8, no? Which is weird because the out-of-school youth says, no, there aren't enough spaces to participate, according to our focus group discussions. So maybe there is that challenge. There are spaces to participate by the BLGU, but our out-of-school youth don't know where and how to participate. Okay, now let's take a look at this interesting one. Here, true or agree or disagree statement. The OSYs are just tambays. Okay, 18 barangay officials disagreed. No, the OSYs are not standbys. But 14 are neutral, meaning not all. Ano sila, not all? They can comment on not all, not all, not all. 14 are neutral and 8 still agree. So there's your baseline data, class. There's your pre-testing. We want these 8 barangay officials to disagree with this statement that the OSYs are just tambays or addicts. So if after the post-test, if after the intervention, and if after you create your post-test, you still see this, then your intervention did not work. If there's an increase in the number of people who agreed, then your intervention did not work. It negatively impacted. But if you have a decrease from 8 to 0, then you can say in your monitoring and evaluation that that has helped, that your intervention has helped. Okay, so that's pre-testing. I'm gonna show you another example of pre-testing. We're working where I work, IEDGE, we are working with the Department of Education to train campus journalists in environmental journalism. Now, before we could actually create the module design, or before we could actually do the intervention or the workshop or the online training, we needed to do a training needs assessment or a pre-test. We wanted to check out the knowledge first of our participants. We wanted to check out the attitude first of our participants in environmental journalism. And we wanted to check out what kind of activities they want to see, what kind of topics they want to hear, and then we also checked out their skills and practices. No, we wanted a baseline data of the current skills and practices of our journalists to whether they're asking the right questions, whether they can translate technical jargon into easily understandable information. These are the different skills that we want to pre-test. So that's it. That's your pre-testing, and it's very important. Formative research and pre-testing are very important in your monitoring and evaluation, and you will see why in the next lesson.